Is Jewish, Christianity, and Islam worship the same God, Rabbi?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Islam and Judaism worship the same God. One God, no other. The
Thank you,
tragedy,
Rabbi.
the tragedy with Christians is they also believe in the true God. Every Christian believes in the true God, the creator of the heavens and the earth. But there is a shirk, a partnership, where they also worship Jesus as God, as the Son of God. This is very dangerous. And they worship the Holy Spirit as a separate person from God, the creator of the heavens and the earth. So this, in Judaism, is the most dangerous thing, because it's not like, if you go to Bali, right? Bali is beautiful, but also
Yes.
one of the things you see in Bali is many statues and idols all over, right?
Yes. Correct.
So this is problematic. But Christians worship the true God, but they also worship Jesus as a God, as the Son of God. This is very dangerous. So therefore, the Christian view of God is a Trinity, which is very, very dangerous, and it's against the will of the prophets of Israel.
Yes. Wow. I'm very happy that we are worshiping the same God, Rabbi.
Yes.
But in the perspective of Judaism, you say it is very dangerous to worship Jesus as God.
Right.
What do you call a people who worship another persons, Rabbi, in Judaism?
It's called avodah zarah, which means a strange worship. It means an alien worship. It's the kind of worship that Torah says is forbidden. Lo yi'elecha Elohim acherim al panai. It's the 10 Commandments. You shall have no other gods upon my face. Now, as I mentioned, of all the kinds of strange worship, meaning not worshiping God alone, the true God, the worst thing you can do, the worst kind of strange worship, the worst form of avodah zarah, that's in Hebrew, is to worship the true God, but also, in addition to the true God, worship another God, separate. This is, in Arabic, it's called a shirk.
Yes.
Shirk. It's in the Quran, it's the worst sin that God won't even forgive you for that. The worst.
Yes.
In Judaism, it's the same. That in Hebrew, shutfis, which means the same thing, partnership, is forbidden, because it's like this. It's like the difference between fornication and adultery, right? If two people who are not married, a man and a woman, are together, but they're not married, that's a sin, right? But it's much worse if somebody is married, if a woman is married and sleeps with another man. You follow? So if you are married to God, meaning your connection is to God, and then you have somebody else outside of the marriage, that's the worst thing possible. It's much worse than just bowing down to a statue.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much, Rabbi.
Sure.
Okay, so we can go deeper. So, because you say that Judaism and Islam worshiping the same God,
Yeah.
can you say that the Tetragrammaton is equal to Allah in Islam, Rabbi?
So there are many names for God in Tanakh.
Yes.
There is a name in Tanakh that's the same as Allah is in Arabic, and that's Elohim. So we
Yes.
have to be very careful with the names of God. One thing I want to say to your viewers is normally religious Jews, we say God's name only in prayer or reading straight from the Bible. But I want to be sure that people don't misunderstand me. What does
Okay.
Elohim mean? What does Allah mean? So in Arabic, Allah means the true God, means the God, right? But what does that word come from? What does that word mean? Now, in Islamic tradition, there are almost 100 names of God, right? Why? Because the names have a meaning, convey a message. Okay,
Yes.
so the name Allah, really comes from a word, a Semitic word, which is al, which means powerful. That God is all-powerful. In English, we would say almighty. So Elohim in Hebrew, see, it's the same root, El. Elohim in Hebrew would be the exact equivalent of the word Allah. Because and that's why in the book of Genesis, the first chapter in all the Bible, the name Elohim is used only alone. There's no other name for God. All right. So this name of God conveys that God is all-powerful. That's the equivalent name of the name Allah that Muslims invoke. The Tetragrammaton, which Jews do not pronounce, conveys that God is eternal, that he has no beginning. He's not only in the present, but he's also eternal. So God is eternal. There's no beginning and no end. He's past, present, and future. That's something that's beyond our ability to comprehend. We believe that. We all believe, you and me, we all believe that God is eternal. He has no beginning. He has no end. But we cannot, as human beings, comprehend that. We can believe that in our faith, but we can't comprehend infinity, something that has no beginning, no end, because our world is finite. So therefore, we don't use that name. We don't invoke that name. We read it, we understand its message, but we don't say it. But again, to answer your question, Allah and Elohim would be the same name conveying the same message.
Yeah, when I did before, I'll do now also. Allah is taken from the name from Elokah. Elokah, which is, we use that word all the time. We have the same God as the Arabs. We believe in the same God, one God. So it's a paradox. See, the Christians believe in the Trinity, whatever that's supposed to mean, but it's a part of it is their God, who's the JC we call her, but that's not our belief at all. We're not allowed to believe in anything like that. And we're in better terms with the Christians generally than with the Arabs, generally speaking. But we have in common, we believe in the same God. Right? As a matter of fact, I was speaking once to Moshe Feinstein, the greatest rabbi of our generation. He said, Allah, that's the Arab's God, the same God that we have. He wasn't afraid to talk about it. They have the same God.
As a Jew, I can use the Arabic phrase Allahu Akbar and have no problem saying this. Allahu Akbar, I can say this all I want. And even the part of the Shahada that the Muslims say, Lo ilaha illa Allah, I can also freely say this, and I don't feel any, remorse about saying this, because their concept of God is exactly the same as the Jewish concept of God.